Podcast. We're on the Kariatu They, but her stand up stress. Sit down, let's get straight to it.
Yes, sir. We're back with another episode, another guest. How you feeling today?
How you feeling? You feeling good?
How y'all doing?
I'm good. You know, I was like, how am I gonna introduce Kariatu? I'm like, Krowned Korner, spoken, mother. Like I was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, so you go ahead and introduce yourself. Like, how you want to describe yourself?
Hey y'all, what's up everybody? My name is Kariatu. I am mother of some cool brand babies. Krowned Korner is what I call the hub for all things life, laughter, learning, and love, with the emphasis on relationships in all capacities. So that's my firstborn. I also have a podcast called Spoken the Podcast. Krowned Korner is spelled with a K. If you're looking for me, that's how you're going to find me.
Okay.
Join our clique.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be here. Let's talk about some things.
We can talk. So how did you get started with Krowned Korner though, like in spoken? Like, how did you get started with that?
Well, Krowned Korner, like I said, came first. That was in about 2018. I've always loved writing, so I was trying to figure out how I could kind of like create a space that I feel like I needed with all that I was going through at the time. It was my second semester of my freshman year of college. I graduated from A&T. So that's a little long. Thank you. That's a long way from home.
Yeah.
So I had some issues with adjusting and all of that good stuff. So I was like, okay, I need an outlet that can also help others. I created a blog, and I didn't think that it would turn into a whole community of people, turn into a podcast and all of that good stuff. But luckily, it has. So I really just started it for me, honestly, and just people just so happened to fall in love with it and decided to, stick it out with us, and still going strong. So
good. You say you had some struggles like adjusting to A&T. Would you say like PG didn't, like coming from a PG high school, like did that set you up for success in college?
My struggles weren't necessarily academic, but I will say that I started to see what all my teachers and principals and program directors were trying to tell me about the difference between high school and college. Right. I feel like the science and tech program and the work ethic I had to develop because I was in such a rigorous program set me up for success. I feel like if I was not in the science and tech program, knowing what I know about the structure of PG County schools, I do not think that I would have been as successful in college.
Got an endorsement for science and tech?
I mean, we all science and tech niggas.
It's the work ethic. Now, science and technology is not my cup of tea. I'm not a STEM girl, but the work ethic I had to develop and knowing how to produce quality work.
Did you realize you weren't a STEM girl after being in science and tech, or was it?
Oh no, I knew. I did not want to be in science and tech. My mom was like, "You're gonna be in science and tech."
I get that.
Okay, girl. Okay.
Yeah, I got out of there before I had to do a little research practice, whatever.
You got out?
Yeah. I transferred, like I said, I was there sophomore year, and then I went to boarding school after that. So, which I wasn't at the moment in time was not happy about, but it ended up being a good experience.
This nigga got shipped.
Yeah. I ain't do nothing wrong though.
You got shipped.
Everybody always asked me if I got in trouble. It was just, my parents didn't want me to go to private school. It just so happened that the boarding school was what I went to.
Did you like boarding school better or Flowers better?
Depends what you, well, Flowers, right? Socially, of course. But if you're talking about like academically, the boarding school helped me. So, and I feel like I made a lot of good friends. It was all boys. So it was like, and it was a small school, so it was like, yeah.
Did you have like a sister school near you?
Yeah, it was like an hour away, so I don't even know why they called it. It was chill. Like I feel like the people I met there, like if you're talking about for the people, like it's people I'm still friends with to this day, and like, I knew people from all over the country, like Pennsylvania, New York, some people from California, some people from Korea. So
Korea,
yeah, a whole lot of Korea. They had a whole community and all that. So, and you would be surprised. It wasn't like. There was like 5 white people in the whole school. Like, there was a majority of black people too. So yeah. So it was a good little vibe. So if you're talking about socially, definitely Flowers, but academically, I would say the boarding school.
What did you learn at that boarding school? Like, what skills?
I feel like they had some more things like in place, like structurally when it comes to, like, for example, SATs. Like they had somebody who's gonna be like, all right, study for this SAT. Like, we had like a college advisor who would like let you know your safety schools, let you know what you're gonna get into. So before I was even applying, I knew I was gonna get into whatever schools I applied to. Type thing. So I had my safeties, I had the reaches, all that. So I feel like they had a lot of different things in place. It's not a perfect school, obviously. No school is gonna be like, got everything you need, but it's definitely like, I definitely learned how to time management because you're living by yourself. My parents ain't there to tell me what to do. You can wake up, you got a roommate, but you don't wake up type of thing. So I definitely learned a lot being on my own, going and getting groceries every weekend, doing by myself.
It's giving pre-college.
Yeah, it's basically pre-college. So I think, mine is a woman, of course, but other than that, it was...
He emphasizes the woman.
Can be focused. So it's all good. Yeah, for sure.
So coming back to you about, going from science and tech to NCAT, what made you want to do, what did you major in?
Well, I started off as a psychology student, and then because I was struggling to kind of adjust, when you in college, you back at like the bottom of the totem pole, realizing that you're not the shiner anymore. You're in school with a whole bunch of other shiners.
Yeah.
So all of that was a big adjustment for me, being far, all that good stuff. So mentally, I was like, okay, psychology is what I love, but it's too much right now while I'm going through my own walk with these mental health issues. So I decided to switch over my second semester to journalism. So I graduated with a bachelor's in multimedia journalism, and I made psychology my minor. So that's what I did in school, and now I'm back getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling.
Oh, that's solid. From A&T?
Yep, from A&T.
Okay.
So how would you describe your experience at NCAT, like compared to, like, obviously since it's in North Carolina, it's a different vibe with the people there, things like that. What kind of differences do you think? Do you think you would have enjoyed college more here in Maryland and back in PJ? You think it's definitely better at NCAT?
No, the reason why I didn't choose any schools in Maryland, DC, Virginia is because I knew it would feel like high school 2.0. Like I needed something that was changed. I'm a girl that has had a lot of structure in her life. I went to one elementary school, one middle school, one high school. Like I love home, but I need to go away. I need to go experience something different, catch a different vibe, and I'm so glad that I did because it challenged me in a lot of different ways. If I was home, I feel like I would have stayed comfortable, and I might not have created Krowned Korner. I might not have, started to do the different things that I did. So I do not think that I would have been any better off if I would have stayed at home and went to a school out here.
What did you learn while being at NCAT? Like, what were some things you learned about yourself?
That's a good question. Yay. I feel like it wasn't even more so what I learned about myself. I feel like I was able to apply the things that I already knew about myself. Like things were put to the test. Like I've always been told I've been very independent, but now it's time for me to actually show that I can be independent, that I can take care of myself, that I can, make good decisions. Because there's this thing that goes around saying A&T is a party school. There are parties everywhere. Now, G-Ho is G-Ho, okay? Don't get me wrong. The party scene is lit out there. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that there are a lot of successful people that come out of the university. You just choose, kind of like here, like Baltimore. In my opinion, my friends that went to Towson was partying way more than my friends that was at A&T. So it's just like, it depends on how you look at it. So I also got to see that I am a very disciplined person because I didn't go to college and, just go buck wild or start to do things that I wouldn't normally do. So it put the things that I already knew about myself to the test.
Okay.
So speaking more like Krowned Korner, talk more like what it entails, like what do you usually discuss, like what's your main focus and like what inspired you to kind of like focus on that certain thing? Because when it comes to like podcasts, all these different types of things, people are kind of like trying to figure out what should I talk about. So what was the inspiration and what made you want to go in the direction you wanted to?
Well, because I kind of just started it without knowing like what I was really getting into, my niche found me. So I didn't go into it already saying that, oh yeah, I know exactly what I want to talk about. I know exactly what's going to be successful. I was just dibbling and dabbling in everything. I kept it all under the umbrella of mental health, but I talked about various different things. Things about self, things about relationships with significant others, friends, family. And I noticed that people started to flock to me, come to me for advice when it came to like their more intimate relationships. I made one blog post called Let That Man Go, and child, the girls went crazy. I was like, oh, y'all felt that? Okay. So I still didn't want it to be all about that, but the more that I did posts like that, the more that my community started to form. So I created a whole nother like hub. We do the 10-10 tea Thursday nights at 10 p.m. where we have conversations that are solely for the tea on, these relationships with these guys or whoever you decide to date, but more significant other based discussions. So that kind of became like what I've been the most known for. But we're not limited to anything in regard to mental health and how relationships with people in all capacities can affect you mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically. So that's kind of my lane that I've chosen to stick with because it's something that resonates with me and something I enjoy. So.
Damn, let that man go. Like, she making it hard for niggas out here. Like,
nah, it wasn't even supposed to be like that. Let me tell y'all something. If you are a man that's standing on business, you have nothing to worry about. Your girl will love the click for other reasons, I promise.
For sure, that's hard.
So I don't tell them to lead the good ones, okay? Don't lead the bad ones.
Okay.
Understood. So talk more about like the whole, like everything you do, like, I feel like the way you structure your thing is pretty unique. Like normally people have their own, like the whole hub. You know what I'm saying? How Krowned Korner is one thing, and you also have the podcast. It's basically like your own brand you're building. So like how did you? Because not many people even think about doing that. So how did you think about trying to venture throughout doing different things, but also combining it to make a one brand type of thing?
You gotta kind of just literally like wherever the wind blows you, you figure out how you can settle there. Like wherever God plants you, you gotta figure out how to bloom. That's kind of what I took and I ran with. So Krowned Korner was putting me in amazing positions. I started public speaking. I started getting featured on other people's podcasts. And I was like, okay, I had an assignment where I had to create a podcast episode and upload it like it was, a real thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I like this. This is dope because I love to talk. So from there, I was like, I think I want to do a podcast. I just didn't know what the timing. So you don't rush greatness, child. You got to wait till the timing is right and it makes sense. So when I was about to graduate, I graduated college a year early. So I knew a lot of people would be interested.
Overachiever. Okay.
I knew a lot of people would be interested in that. I knew a lot of people would be interested in me trying to choose a career path in the midst of COVID. I knew everybody would be interested in seeing, okay, what are the next steps? How do I do the same thing or something similar? Right. So I was like, the perfect thing to do is for me to create its own identity. Mm-hmm. And it started off as Krowned Combos, which was just a spinoff of Krowned Korner. And as the podcast grew, it created its own identity. That's why I call my brands my babies, because when you creating a brand, you don't really know how, things are going to go. And I treat them like children. Yeah, I just make sure I nurture it. But as my child, it started to grow into its own thing and created its own vibe. And I was like, spoken, it gives a more mature type of mysterious kind of vibe, which is what the podcast pretty much gives off these days. So it wasn't like it was all in the plans. Like I can't lie and say, yeah, I knew from the beginning it was going to be like this. Nah, I just went with the flow. And
I think you're lucky to have like your niche find you. Like I feel like a lot of people go out in the world trying to find their niche, trying to find their passion, trying to find what they're good at, their talents. But you were it just came to you and you were blessed to be able to cultivate it and work on it and recognize it and, keep growing. So that's shout out to you, man. You're doing your thing.
Thank you. I'm being obedient.
Yeah, that's the way.
So talk more about like the whole, like obviously you've been, is there any like pressure when it comes to this? Because obviously you've been in the podcast scene for a minute now, like, and I feel like now you see like, well, we're going to talk about the podcast scene later.
we also talk about that,
we'll talk about that later, but like you've been in the game longer than most, you know what I'm saying? I feel like before like this nice little surge of podcasts, you've obviously been in the game. So like, is there a pressure when it comes to like making this kind of content and trying to like, well, now you see people are looking for you, they're looking for your advice, you know what I'm saying? Looking for relationship advice, looking for all these different types of things. Is there some pressure to like say the right thing, or like, do you feel any pressure when you're doing it? Or is it more so you just having fun with it?
I don't feel pressure. I just feel a great sense of responsibility because I understand that my voice and the things that I say holds weight. Like when you start to do these things and you're doing something bigger than yourself, you have a level of influence and you have people that are following you or that are listening to your ideas and things like that. So your message can stay the same, but your delivery is something that you have to focus on. So those are some of the challenges that I face. I don't feel pressure because I'm a mental health person. So if I'm not feeling it or if I'm not in it, I don't care what y'all say. Y'all not bullying me. Y'all gonna wait on it until I get myself back together. Because you got to show up whole in order to produce something that is of quality. Sure. So I don't feel pressure, but I feel a great deal of responsibility because if I come on here and I'm talking all crazy and somebody else might be like, oh, well, if she rocking, I'm rolling, so I'm going to do something crazy too. And now I done started a whole uproar, and now I feel bad.
Same way they pressure you to release those vlogs.
Yeah, that's true.
I seen it.
I be minding my business, and they be like, that's cute, but where the vlog at?
Right.
Like, dang.
No, but let's really talk about this podcast scene, Like, how do you feel right now about the podcast? Like, you obviously, you probably seen, like, all the viral podcasts going on, and how they're bashing women and And they're just making podcasts.
There's no free clown over here. We ain't gonna say no names.
We're not saying names, but you know,
CurbTalks Podcast, but like it's, you know what I'm saying, people talking a little crazy right now. So
I feel like everybody's looking for like a viral moment. Like people are just trying to take the easy way out and just like say some outlandish things. Like some people just don't need to be on these platforms, and I feel like they won't know that because there's always going to be somebody that entertains BS. Mm-hmm. Like, because they have all these other people that are trolling just as much as they are, or they feed off of, like, negative attention and things like that, they're going to think that, okay, what I'm doing is cool because somebody's listening. Right. So I kind of just pay it dust. Like, I don't pay it no mind. When I see the little snippets and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's how you feel? Okay, but I'm not going to turn it into a think piece and keep, like, watering it. Like, I don't want it to grow. So I feel like the podcast scene is right now, it's a thing right now. Like, it's something cool to do. It's something everybody's doing. But we're going to see who actually stands the test of time and who's really in it for, you know, different or, I don't want to say better, but the right reason.
Yeah, I feel like I usually compare podcasts to music. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we always say real music's going to last. You know, like I feel like real podcasts are going to last. Like, not those that is looking to retweets or things like that, but those who really want to help the community, those who really want to spread a positive message. And I feel like, you know, CurbTalks, like that's what we're trying to do too. Like just, you know, like I think Babyface Ray, this is weird, I'm quoting him right now, but he was like, what did he say? He was like, the route a little longer if you live it honest. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel like that. Like if you're really doing it the right way, it's gonna be a long route, but in the end it's gonna be more deserving.
Longevity is what's important.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are some of y'all favorite podcasts?
The first one I really got into was Joe Budden podcast. Like I was one of the first ones I really like, he really been doing it. I also listen to like the Through the Wire podcast, like they're a basketball podcast. So like, I've been trying to just find my niche when it comes to like, especially with podcasts. Like, there's so many, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly which one's gonna peer through and which ones you want to really listen to.
I like $1 million worth of game.
Yeah, that's another good one.
I like that one.
Malvin Rose podcast is another great one. Yeah, so like I said, I just try to be tapped in, and it's just so hard because it's like every day I'm seeing the tweet. It's like, oh yeah, podcast man or OnlyFans dog. I'm like, bro, like how we got to this point where it's like people oh yeah,
it's like this podcast is a rap. Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
it's straight slander.
That's why I don't be knowing that.
Yeah,
they talk about us like that.
Yes,
I seen it was a video of this whole bunch of black men in suits. Like they look corny as hell, but they all walking to some place. And I was like, where they going? They about to record a podcast. And it's like we sit here trying to make it off. I'm hoping like nobody think we do. That's what I'm saying. It's rough, but at the same time, you can understand why, because I feel like people, like you said, they're looking for a viral moment, and a lot of people feed their attention. Twitter's think piece central. Everybody's got something to say about it. So you put one viral moment, you're saying some wild stuff. Like the people we talk, obviously you know what we're talking about. Like they're saying crazy stuff, but people are tuning in, they're feeding in, they're writing think pieces, they're getting more clout, more subscribers. So it just keeps making them successful. So it's kind of just, like you said, we got to be authentic at the end of the day. And it's clear like you've been doing that, you've been in the game for so long. So, and your work has been showing that. So it's really
you got like 7 seasons? You work 7 seasons right now?
Yes, I'm wrapping up season 7, yeah.
Crazy. How was season 7? How was the making of that?
So season 7 was really just a spin-off of season 6. So season 6 was my return with the new name, was spoken, the new vibe, and all that good stuff. And I wanted to bring my guests. So I usually do a season by myself, and then the next season I have guests from each episode. So this was the season where I had guests. I had 4 amazing women 4 or 3. Sterling, Journey, Sierra. And I think one of them was by myself. So 3 amazing women. They came on, they spoke with me about various topics. And then I was like, wait, I kind of missed the fellas. Like, I hadn't done a season with guys in a while. So I was like, I want to bring some guys on here to talk about more so who they are as opposed to what they do. So I did that. That was my MO. I had a friend of mine who was recently on The Voice and was serving as Mr. A&T at the time. So I had him come on, and then another up-and-coming artist from North Carolina. I had him come on, a guy from Baltimore that does a lot of work in his community. I was like, I want to share their stories. So it was very fulfilling. It also reminded me how much men are needed in these spaces, especially when you can mix the masculine and the feminine energy and have like a balance.
Right.
Yeah,
because I was asking questions that they weren't expecting to hear, but they were also giving me an answer that I wasn't expecting to hear.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
you feel like you're getting like both perspectives.
Yes, it was very needed. I was like, dang, okay, there actually are still some smart men out here with a little bit of sense. Because we was forgetting. So I had to treat my ladies with some good guys. I was real particular about who I chose. But
run us through your creative process and your criterion for guests and each season. Like, what do you envision when you're creating your seasons?
It gotta make sense. I'm not gonna just grab somebody up just because they're doing well in their profession, or they're making the most money, or they have the most attraction right now. Or I don't really operate like that. Like whatever it is that I want to talk about, I start with that, and then I find the people that I feel like will be the best fits for that. So with me knowing I wanted to do season 7, for example, I wanted to have guys that had clearly, a story that coincides with why they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. But my goal was, don't come on here like this is like a job interview and you tell me all the skills that you have. I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
I'm interested on something a little bit deeper, like beneath the surface. What is it like dealing with all the things that you deal with? How did you get to this point? That type of thing. So I needed to have guys that weren't afraid of being vulnerable, that weren't afraid of letting their guard down and putting away like this Superman type of thing that society puts on black men. And that's kind of how I chose who I was going to allow onto my platform. You just can't let anybody like just come on and share their opinions if it don't make sense.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I don't want no parts of it.
So let's like get more into it, like you said, like getting below the surface. Like you said, your podcast and everything you're doing, like it focuses a lot on mental health. So can you talk more about like your mental health journey? Like, I got to get too specific, more so just like how, especially like mental health is such a like important thing in the black community, especially how people don't really take it seriously. So what made you can you talk more about your journey and what made you exactly want to focus more so on mental health?
Okay, I took a psychology class when I was in dual enrollment. This was maybe like my sophomore year of high school, and I fell in love with it. I'm like, okay, I like this. I feel like this is something that I want to learn more about, like human development, different things like that, trauma. I've always been a very intuitive girl. I've always tried to pick people's brains and get in people's business, figure out why they are the way that they are. So with that being kind of what was leading me, when I had my first run-in with mental health, I experienced PTSD from a traumatic incident. I got into a car accident my senior year. So when that happened, I'm like, wait, I don't feel like myself. Like, this isn't normal. Like, physically, I was okay, but mentally, I'm like, there's a lot going on, and I don't really know how to process it. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to unpack all of this. If I say that I'm this person that helps people, I need to be able to help myself. So I experienced that with PTSD. A lot of times comes with a lot of anxiety. And then I thought I was okay until it got tested again when I got to A&T by myself. So then it was like, okay, this is turning into a little bit of depression. Like, I don't know. So then I went to seek counseling through the university. A&T, a lot of colleges offer free counseling services. So I went in, and actually they give you a test. You actually get diagnosed by a professional, and then they set you up with a plan on, how to move forward. And I stayed consistent with it for a little bit until I felt like I was good enough to kind of just, figure stuff out or whatever. But that's really what pushed me, because nobody's too big to seek mental health. Like, it's not like they're going to just tell you, oh, yeah, you're absolutely crazy and put you on medication. It doesn't work like that. There's levels, and you also have control over what you choose to indulge in and what you choose to, accept into your space and what you don't. Like, if you don't like a therapist, I'm an advocate for continue to try them out. It's like dating. Continue to try them out until you find one that you can rock with. So I've experienced PTSD, a little bit of anxiety, and I was showing signs of early stages of depression, but luckily I was able to catch it before it got, too crazy.
Okay. I think I'm a big advocate for like mental health too. Because I think last year kind of put my stuff to the test, like, because I went through some things and wasn't really at the end of it, I wasn't really happy with who I was, so had to go through some changing things, and I even like started journaling, which is I think this is the first time I ever saying it like in public. Right? I even said it in public, but like, I feel like it's good to be able to recognize, like, how would you tell people to recognize they're going through mental health issues?
When you're not okay. Like, suppressing your feelings in any way, shape, or form, whether you're taking to drugs, whether you're taking to other recreational activities and you're noticing that you're doing it a bit much and you're doing it to kind of mask or run away from your problems, I need you to understand that after your high is gone or after you've sobered up or after that person has left your bed, your problems are still there. Sorry, I ain't know how to explain it. But
be authentic, man. Say how it is.
Your problems are still there staring at you like, hey, you ready to deal with me now? Like, you can sweep stuff under the rug. But if you don't discard it, get away with it, if something else happens, something fall on that rug, now all your dust is back out on the floor.
Right.
It's like you gotta actually put in the work and see it through. A lot of people start their healing journey and expect it to come like that, and when it doesn't, they're like, all right, F this, I'm over it. You haven't given yourself a chance to heal. You have to see it through and understand that it's not a linear situation. It's gonna be a roller coaster, okay? You gotta stick it out until you come to an end, you come to a stop, you're on the other side of it, and you can keep pushing. So I feel like whenever you feel like you're not okay, you need to act on it. You took an initial step. You were intentional. You said, okay, I'm going to write my thoughts down. Because once you do that, you give them a space outside of your head. You give it life outside of your head. That helps you to release. There's other ways. There's other things if you want to indulge in. There's podcasts that are strictly for mental health by mental health professionals. There are videos. There are different, whatever you like to do, I'm sure you can find a way to nurture your mental health through that art or through that thing.
I really like when you said being intentional. I think that's what I kind of wanted this year to be intentional. Because when I was going through everything I was going through, I was listening to Lauryn Hill, and she has a song called like Mr. Intentional. And I was listening to it, and it really spoke to me. I'm like, let me be more intentional in my actions, because I realized like, it wasn't that I was a bad person. It was just that unintentional seeds bear unintentional fruits. I was just being unintentional. I was just being careless with what I was doing. So, so if you be unintentional, chaos, confusion is coming for you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so and there's no peace in that.
There's no peace. So I was just like, let me be more intentional this year. Let me, try and if I want to do something, do it. If I don't want to do it, just don't do it. Don't just say, F it and just do it because I want to. So I really fuck with how you just said, be more intentional. Write your thoughts down. I feel like everybody should do it because honestly, it works for me, and I feel like it works for a lot of people, especially for a lot of black men. Because I don't think we really hone on mental health. That's not a thing for us. We don't really think about that. We don't really try to act on it. But I feel like every black male deals with mental health.
Oh yeah.
We all deal with it in some form or fashion. So
I agree 100%.
So talk more about the whole process. Boom, you identified that you were having some issues, you having some mental health issues. What steps do you go into when it comes to acting on it? Because I can say for myself, I think 2021 was definitely a learning year for me too. I think I definitely, especially last semester, I feel like it was just a crazy semester. I feel like there were times during the semester I really had 2 mental breakdowns, and I had never had one in my life. So I was when I was experiencing, I was like, what's going on right now? And it was going to the point where it's I never considered therapy or anything like that. I never thought I had any issues or anything like that. I feel like for the most part, I'm a strong-willed person. I just keep shit pushing because everything's gonna happen. I feel like when it comes to my life, things are gonna keep happening. I just gotta keep pushing. So I feel like how do you go through that process of saying, cool, I realize I have an issue now. How do you act on it? That type of thing. I know when I was going through that situation, I kind of just have sit back and really just think about everything I'm doing. And I've definitely tried to approach this year in a much way better way. And I think we can definitely talk about that more later. But how do you try to act on it, and what steps do you try to take? Who do you talk to? What do you think are the best questions to ask when it comes to that?
I feel like it's a matter if you want to be a proactive person or a reactive person. A proactive person is going to notice those signs. When you notice that you're sleeping a lot more, or you're more irritable, or you're just not being yourself, you don't have energy, or whatever the case is, any changes you start to notice, then you start to do the work. You start to evaluate, okay, what has happened to me, whether it's something traumatic, you lost a friend, you lost something. What has happened that has made me, feel this way? Or why is this happening? You start to figure out your why. And then a lot of people don't feel comfortable going to others and asking for help or advice, whatever the case is. And that's fine. You have to understand that if you seek help from a professional as opposed to somebody personal, you might go farther quicker because they have things like confidentiality. You don't have to worry about your business getting out there in the streets or somebody, using that against you or whatever the case is. So it eases a lot of the anxiety, which is why I push for a lot of people, especially men, to seek help from professionals. There's a difference between somebody that is trained to be an addiction counselor or therapist. If you don't have an addiction, you wouldn't want to go to somebody that specializes in that. Do your research. Get yourself the best help you can get. if you are a person that doesn't mind, personal help from people that might be in your life, your mama, your daddy, your cousins, your friends, your girlfriend, whatever the case is, you have to understand that they're not trained to give you professional help because they're not professionals, but also they're going through their own things that they might need assistance on as well. So don't go dumping all of your mess on someone else, because then that can make you feel bad. Now you feel even worse. You got your issues. Now you feel bad for putting your issues on somebody else. That's creating a whole nother issue. Just too many issues. So to answer your question, I feel like if you're a proactive person, you're going to go ahead and you're going to nip it in the bud as soon as possible and start doing the work. If you're a reactive person, you're going to wait until you get to that moment where now you're having a mental breakdown, or now you're blowing up, and now you spazzing on people, you acting out, you drinking yourself to a pulp, you high as a kite all the time. Like, it's just a matter of what you want to do. Do you want to have to do damage control because you waited to the very last second to acknowledge the fact that there's something wrong? Or are you going to put your pride aside and say, hey, I might need help, I might have issues, something might really be wrong, and go ahead and start the process earlier?
So you mentioned, like, when it comes to, like, when you're going to, like, your personal friends or your family, your girlfriend, whatever it is, you talked about how, like, these people are not professionals, like, they're not trained to be professional help. So, like, how do you, you as a person, when it comes to, like, your friends, your family, how do you try to be there for people when it comes to, like, mental health? Like, I think when people, since, like we said, we're in college, you know what I'm saying, we're young, we don't really know what to do when it comes to these certain situations. So, like, when you see a friend who may be going through it, who may have some mental health, or you see somebody who who has told you is having some issues with that, but, might not be too open about it, might not know how to go about it. How do you be there for them as a person?
I kind of just set the pace. So let's say I have a friend that comes to me about something that I feel like I can actually help them with. I'll help them, but within my range. I'm not a professional yet. So although I know a lot of things, sometimes people just want to vent. So I start off by how kind of like we start off in the field. It's like asking them, hey, do you need somebody to just listen? Do you want feedback? Do you want my advice? And even if I am giving advice, I'm giving advice with a grain of salt, because whatever decisions you make is not going to directly affect me. So I can't tell you exactly what to do. So don't ask me to tell you exactly what to do, because I'm going to be like, nope, absolutely not. You have to make your own decision. I can, tell you how I feel, but what I would do and what you would do is two totally different things for two totally different people. So making sure that I'm conscious enough to know where I can be more of an asset or where I can become the opposite of that, and I can do more harm than good. And then also, if they decide, okay, you know what, I thought I needed help, but I don't need help no more, I have to learn how to take a step back and just let them figure it out on their own, because sometimes life is a better teacher than other people might be.
Yeah, definitely.
And just because you experience something doesn't mean that the same things that worked for you is going to work for them. So that's mostly how I approach it, and also just knowing myself enough to know how much I can take. Because if I have a friend that's coming to me about issues and I'm going through my own issues, and I feel like now I can decide whether or not my issues are more important than hers, and now I'm making her feel bad, and I could be adding on to her mental turmoil. And that's very dangerous feels. That's why I don't like to mix all of that. If we're having light conversations, my friends come in and talk about something, and I can give them my advice and keep it pushing, that's one thing. But always make sure you have resources available. I don't leave nobody high and dry. If I can't help you, I'm going to try to find a resource that can. If I hear someone talking about things that might hint that, okay, they might be really going through it, they might be getting suicidal, how do I give them the right resources, the proper resources to move forward and to not make permanent decisions based off temporary emotions?
I like the fact that you said, you don't ever try to tell anybody what to do, because, as when we were younger, you talk to your man, you tell your man, you should do this. But, I don't know. Just in case if things go wrong, you're not liable for it. But, how often do people come to you about issues, about problems? How often do you see yourself in the position of, you're the therapist and you got to help them?
Very often. And I love it until I don't. I love it until I don't. I've always been, from as long as I can remember, even with people older than me, with people in my family, I've always been everybody's go-to. People just come because I have this way with my words that they say that just works and gets to them. And I'm like, okay, I'm honored, I'm flattered. Any way I can help, I like to talk, let's talk about it. And also, I don't have a judging spirit. It's a judgment-free zone. I'm an open book. So you going through something, I'm be like, listen, girl, I done did the same thing. I was dumb too. Let's talk about it. But I had to learn to kind of put myself first. in the sense where I still, whenever somebody comes to me, if I have the capacity to take on whatever it is they're telling me, I'm there for them. If not, I recognize that and I've learned how to express that to them. Like saying no is not as hard as we make it seem. It's because we've attached a negative thing to the word no. No doesn't always look like, no, I'm not helping you, leave me alone. That's not always what no is. Sometimes no is, I really wish I could be there for you right now, but I'm going through some things that prohibit me from giving you some solid advice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send you this thing that helped me and hope that it helps you. Keep me updated type of thing. So learning your language, like learning how to communicate the things that you're trying to say, it makes it all a lot easier. Those are the times where I don't love it. When I'm going through something and I'm like, I want to help them, but I just genuinely cannot. Those are the times where I have to make a decision. Do you put yourself first? Put your mental first? Go to sleep? Or do you stay up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning trying to have a conversation with somebody and it's not going anywhere because they're not ready to make certain changes and decisions and things like that? So
when did you learn to put yourself first? Because I feel like a lot of us, we don't know how to put ourselves first. You know, we're always taught help others. Yeah. But we're not taught to help ourselves, you know, put ourselves first.
Honestly, I feel like COVID did it for me. Like being quarantined and being, you know, like isolated and things like that really did a lot for me mentally. But one of the things it did was it helped me be more in tune with like my body. I listen to my body. If my body is telling me no, like if I'm drained, I'm not trying to talk about your issues. I'm sorry, I love you, and I'm so sad that you're going through all of this, but I can't, because I'm an internalizer. I'm a person that, like, I feed off of people's emotions. I take people's problems and try to find a way to turn it into mine. If my cup is not full, I don't have nothing to give. The only thing that I'm willing to give out to people is my overflow. When I heard this quote, it changed my life. Oprah said, I didn't hear it from Oprah, though. I heard it from somebody else that quoted Oprah. They said
Did you go back and check him? Did you check him over?
I did. That's why I'm like, hold on. They said that Oprah said. No, I think I did see a video of Oprah saying it though. Okay.
You think?
I think it was a long time ago. But they said Oprah said that your cup is your responsibility. So you need to make sure that it's full from you. What everybody else adds on is overflow. Your overflow is what you can give back out to everyone else. So if my cup is not full, I can't possibly have overflow, meaning I don't have nothing to give. So it's my responsibility to fill up my cup. So when life is lifing for me and I'm going through some things that it's just like, okay, I need to get my life together. I need to figure myself out. My cup not full. I don't have nothing to give y'all. I'm so sorry. I have to remember that I'm not the savior of the world. Like, I can't help everybody at the same time, in the same moment, and still try to maintain my sanity. So once I really sat down with myself and was like, girl, it is not your responsibility to save everybody. Like, look at you, one small girl. Like, girl, that's when I started to be real with myself and really learn to set firm boundaries.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a important thing to say. I feel like usually when I hear the cup overflow relationship, usually when it comes to relationships, like don't get into a relationship if you're kind of full, because you want to be able to, you don't want two people with half cups filling each other. You want people who are both have full cups. But I don't think people really realize like the importance that it's not just relationships, with friendships, it's with your parents, it's with your families, with all that. So like you really have to, in order to give anything to anybody else, you have to make sure yourself are good. Because I feel like it's kind of, people don't really realize like if you're not in the right mental space, like you really can't. Even you may think you're giving the right advice, but sometimes you may not be in that right space. Just because you're not in the right mental space. Like normally, if you were good, you would have been able to get the right advice. But I really didn't think about it how it's really important, not just in relationships, but make sure at all times your cup is full. Like, I think that's definitely something people should really try to remember.
Yeah, nobody talks about like the therapist, you know, like their issues. You know, we always think about, you know, therapist, the person. How about the therapists themselves? Like they're putting on all these problems on different people. They, you know, that's on them, and it's very common for therapists to have their own therapists. Like they have to talk about.
They push it on us.
Yeah, like they got to talk about it to other people. So, how do you feel about people using religion to deal with mental health, though? You know, not going to a therapist, but just, you know, using like talking to God, or praying, or whatever religion, you know, to deal with their mental health. How do you feel about that? You know, a lot of Africans. Sorry to cut you off again, but you know, in the African household, you know, they don't really think about therapy. They're like, just pray. Like, God deals with it. You know, like, if you're good with God, you won't be depressed. Like, why are you depressed? House, food, like, you're good. You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about religion dealing with mental health?
It's a slippery. It's a soft, touchy topic.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I feel like.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it, man.
I don't like that because.
Trying to think what you about to say.
I shot word in a good way.
You know you can't just be saying anything when you bring up religion because people will be like, excuse me, I'm gonna start opening up. But I don't got time for that. I'm gonna be completely honest. For me, I feel like you can have all the faith in the world, but you need to put in work behind it. I can't just say, I want to be healed. I want these emotions, this depression, this anxiety, this PTSD to disappear. So I'm just going to talk to God about it. Okay, now God has heard you. God is putting you in position to actually put forth action to help yourself. He's giving you these resources. He's created all of these things for you to utilize, and you're not utilizing it, just waiting for him to do all the work. You're not even trying to meet him halfway. So that is the best way that I can say that I view it, and that's how I would communicate it to somebody else who might have grown up in a household where that's all they knew was talk to God, pray. What is mental health? Like, what is mental health when my God is, the greatest? It's just like, yes, I agree with you, but I need some help. You know what I'm saying? So utilize these resources that God has blessed you with.
So would you say is more so like, not the fact that religion can't help in that sense, but more so just that people aren't approaching it in the right way? Because like obviously there's a faith without works is dead type of thing. So you think that most people they have the faith, they're praying all that thing, but they're not putting in the work on themselves, which is, I feel like that's something that people really don't realize. Like, yeah, pray to God, yeah, for sure. But if God say, oh yeah, you want to pray to God, you want to get an internship, you're not applying to an internship, so how you going to get an internship?
Okay.
If you want to do all this type of things, you know what I'm saying, you want to be better, you want to have more initiative, you want to wake up earlier, and then you're not setting no alarms. Like, what are you trying to do? That type of thing. So you think it's more so that people are using religion as a crutch, where it should be used in tandem as you put in the work and then you also have the religion on the side?
Yes, absolutely. I think that a lot of people have forgotten that two things can exist at the same time. Two opposite things, or what people view as opposite things, can coexist at the same exact time. Like, yes, praying can get you through your darkest times. And yes, therapy, journaling, seeking help, talking to others can help you through your darkest times. It doesn't have to be an either or. Like, why does it have to be, oh no, don't go seek help because there's nothing wrong with you. All you have to do is pray. Why can't I try out both? You know what I'm saying? Our society is so one-track minded. Like, those two things can exist in the same space at the same time.
Yeah, I think my parents usually like talk to me about that. Always put in work. Even when you pray, because that's a lot of things Africans don't do. They just be on top of the mountain praying to God.
And they're not putting in the work.
Then they go to sleep. Then they go back, pray again. Then they're not putting in the work. They're not really like putting the work behind it. So always put in the work. Always put in the work when you pray. And I feel like your take was good. Like, religion by itself. I mean,
it's not to say you can't get the job done.
Yeah.
You can get the job done, but sometimes it's not gonna work like that for everybody.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not gonna work like that for everybody. Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know.
I always say that your life, I look at life as like literally like a story, like a book. You don't know how many chapters you have. That's the only thing you don't know. But you have the pen. God puts the pen in your hand. You're allowed to rewrite your story as many times as you want to. You can start a new chapter whenever you want to. You can cross out some characters and add some new ones. Like, you're in control of writing. As long as that pen is in my hand, meaning I have another day of living, I am responsible for writing a story, rewriting a story that I want to be my story.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like, there's a level of responsibility that comes. God cannot do all of the work for you by himself.
Yeah.
That's the way that I truly feel in regards to anything in life, but especially those mental health things, that people use those things as a crutch. I'm praying and nothing's happening. And then also people have this funny thing where they only want to call on God when things are bad. What about calling on God when things are good again?
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. I'll be trying to work on this whole year. Like, I feel like, it's like I said, I feel like, especially with my journey, I think like my journey with God is something I want to focus on this year too. Like, more so just being more intentional when it comes to that as well. Because like you said, it's so easy to like, oh yeah, I got a test coming up and pray. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to do that when things are down bad. But it's like when your things are good, it's like I feel like I want to have the same mindset when it comes to, applying to both things. So I definitely agree with that. But can you does it ever become like a burden? Like, I feel like to be able to be the one that people come to when it comes to advice, like, it's a blessing and a curse. I feel like it's a blessing to be able to just say the right things, be able to be eloquent and say the right thing. Because it's not easy. I feel like there's been so many times where somebody asked me for advice and I just said the wrong thing. Not because I was trying to, but just because, I don't really know exactly the right thing to say. But does it ever become a burden being the person people go to? Or is it more so just like, how's that feel?
Yes, I'm going to say it to every hammer. My love life suffers because of this blessing God has given me. Let me tell you. It is not even just that. I say love life because that's the one that really pains me. But even with your friendships and your family, like, you take on so much. And me personally, I don't internalize it anymore. I've done a lot of intentional work to kind of be able to not take people's problems with me and make them my own. But people start to look at you like this fairy tale like creature. And I'm like, I'm human just like you. Like, I have moments where I need somebody too. Mm-hmm. So being the strong person sometimes is hard because when it's your turn to lean on somebody, a lot of people are like, not it. Yeah. I don't know what to say to her. She the one that got all the answers. How am I supposed to help her?
Right.
So that can be very, very frustrating. And I oftentimes feel very, very alone. I know I have amazing people around me that love me, but they start to second guess or doubt their ability to make change in my life because I'm typically the one making change or implementing things into their lives. So it can get very, very, very tough and very lonely being that person for everyone else. Luckily, I'm vulnerable enough to tell people that, like, listen, I'm human just like you. I need you just as much as you need me. Like, you don't have to know exactly what to say. I just need something.
So when you say that in your love life, like, it's a relationship where it's you give, but they don't give.
Oh, yeah.
It's always you give and they just taking.
What?
It's not 50-50.
Child, don't get me started. Because men, one thing about child that I wish, it's something I admire, low-key. Men have this level of selfishness that I wish I could take a little bit.
You want to be selfish?
Just a little bit. Okay. It's not, and every time, see, it's the quantities, okay? I don't want to be as selfish. I just want a little bit of what they got. Because naturally, I just feel like that's how a lot of us are wired. Like, women are a lot more selfless. We're nurturers, we're caretakers, all that good stuff. Men, what? Y'all make y'all decisions and y'all stick with it. Y'all don't care about who it's going to affect and what it's going to... No. So a lot of times men don't even know that they're doing it. But they're just
some credit. We're not as selfish. I feel like men, we definitely put ourselves first. We find a way to put ourselves first. We definitely find a way to put ourselves first, but I wouldn't say we're that selfish though. There's a level of selfishness. I have to agree with that.
Some of us, yeah.
I know y'all selfish. Like, men, you piss them off enough, they're gone. They're not looking back. They're not thinking about what. Y'all, I love that because I wish more of us women had that. So that's what I try to preach to the clique so that we can take a little bit of what y'all got. We don't want all of it, just a little bit of what y'all got. But that you said it perfectly. Like, I don't even need to get really deep into it. A lot of men naturally come in, they see, okay, I have this void, she can fill it. Okay, boom. But then they feel inadequate. They don't pour into me, and I'm like, okay, so are you a partner or are you a project? I run into way too many projects in my life. I'm ready for a partner, somebody I can bounce my ideas off of and actually get something back.
You're not trying to save nobody.
Yeah, I'm done. I done my due diligence. Okay. I done folded it up. It's been long gone. So that's another thing. Then men try to, you're intimidating because you have it. No, I don't want to hear none of that. Like, just, if there's a standard that a woman sets, and this just goes for everybody, not just me. If there's a standard that a woman sets and you want that woman, you can make changes in your life in order to reach that standard, exceed that standard, and be with that person. Right. You just can't be looking for, like, yes, I know the saying goes, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. What about the wife? What does she find? As a man, start to think like that. What can I add to this woman's life? Because we're more emotional. So the moment that we really like you, we really care about you, we love you, we're going to do for you regardless of if you fall short of our standards. We're willing to meet people where they're at. Men are not typically like that. But if you feel like there's somebody that you want to pursue, don't make the things that you love about her become like a crutch or become something that's holding you back from pursuing her.
Do you think communication, if proper communication was had, like a lot of these issues wouldn't be had? I feel like like you said, people don't. I feel like when it comes to like people pouring in, one person more pouring into the other person than the other. I feel like in a lot of the scenarios, like I can imagine, like you're giving the person advice, but the person doesn't know how to, help you in the same way. So do you think if people were communicating that more and people were trying to like, talk to you, let you know, like, okay, no, help me in this. Like, I like this. I like this. I like this. You can do this for me. That type of thing. You think there's more communication? A lot of these issues could be solved, or you think it's more so just like you said, the fundamental fact that men you think are more selfish?
Oh no, yeah. See, I said that because I'm a girl. I'm the only girl, so I got it. Mm-hmm. But I think if people went back into like trying to learn a person and also investing in people, investing their time, their energy, and not just focused on resources and monetary things and materialistic things, then we will all be better off. Right. People don't take the time to learn people anymore, and I feel like a lot of the factors that we have nowadays play a factor in that. Like, for example, social media. You want to pursue a girl, you see her, you follow her on social media, you start to think that you know her. This goes for guys and girls, but you start to think that you know a person because of the things that they post, the things that they wear, the places that they go, the people they hang around, whatever the case is. So you approach them already having this idea of who they are in your head. So if you meet them in person and they don't match up with that, now you're a little bit confused, you're thrown off because you swore they was this, but they really that. You don't give people space to really be who they are and then grow with the person. It's like you have, I want you to check all these boxes. I want you to be the perfect guy on this list. The moment you fall short of something, I'm over with. It's over with. Let me go to the next best thing. Like, grass is greener where you water it. People don't water each other and let things nourish and nurture things anymore. They kind of just, you're not perfect, or you can't do this for me and that other person can, so I'm going to go over there. It's just a big mess.
Do you think it's a thing where people are closed-minded, or do you think it's just a thing where people are putting their purposes ahead of what they think this is what they want and they're putting that first as opposed to being more open and like trying to think of, or maybe this could be something I like type of thing?
A little bit of both. I think we're trying to control too much of the narrative, and then also people are very lazy. So it's like it doesn't make it. Everything is just it doesn't balance each other out at all. It just cancels each other out. Like, it don't be making sense. One day you want to find the perfect person. The next day you just want a person. It's just like, pick a side and stay there. Like, everyone is just so indecisive, running around. It's a circus. It's giving me very Cirque du Soleil. You
said the grass is greener where you water it. I feel like, and then the other quote is the grass is greener on the other side. I think everything should be taken into perspective of your situation, because if somebody has the mindset the grass is greener where you water it, then they can easily make that for them to stay in a bad situation for them, because they keep watering it, make sure that situation could get better. But then I feel like grass is green on the other side. If you're in a bad situation, leave, go to the other side. But everything should be taken into perspective.
What kind of grass we talking about? Because if that grass is dead, it's dead. Ain't no amount of water gonna revive that grass. Right. See, that's another thing, because we're so used to, it's like toxic culture out here. Mm-hmm. We're so used to these toxic things that it's starting to be normalized. But absolutely not. If you notice that you're watering grass, I don't think anything is going to grow in a toxic environment. Mm-hmm. So if you notice the grass is not growing and you keep watering it, it's because that grass does not want to grow. That grass is dead. The foundation is all messed up. In that case, yes, you can go to where the grass is greener, but when you get there, understand that you need to water that grass as well, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So it's like, I get that, but it's all with mindset. Because the moment you said that, my mind went to, that grass dead. That's why it's not growing.
Yeah, you're right.
So you just got to approach everything. Like, I feel like people try to approach things in one way. I feel like you got to be adaptable. Okay, I just want to work out art. Think about art. Let me switch to how I have a different mindset when it comes to this. Approach things differently. I feel like you said, they say insanity is like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Think it's going to change, but it's not going to change. So I feel like if more people are trying to be more adaptable, I don't like this person. All right, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go for that type of person. Maybe switch it up. And then I feel like people don't really realize what they want. I feel like sometimes it takes people time. Like, you might think you know what you want, but it might take you a couple bad relationships. It might take you a couple great relationships that just don't work out. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's definitely interesting to see how, that like the people try to navigate it. It does end up toxic in some situations, but I feel like communication and making sure that you're intentional in everything you're doing can kind of just like solve a lot of those other issues.
Yeah, you got to put yourself in position to pivot at all times. Like, planting your feet can be one of the most detrimental things that you can do for yourself in any aspect of life. You have to always be ready to pivot, because life is always going to throw you a curveball. It don't matter when. You're not going to know when. You're not going to know where it's coming from. You're not going to know who's throwing it, but it's coming. So if you in position to pivot, you here right now. Like right now, you are not in position to pivot. Y'all can't see him, but I can. He was comfortable where he was at. And granted, I don't mean literally always be like, on the lookout. But it's just like that was the perfect example for me to use. He was not. If somebody on the other side of that door was, he was not. And that's how you gotta look at it in life too. Like you gotta be ready. So being ready looks like making sure that you dump all of that old baggage so you can have space for what's to come. Yeah. I was talking about this literally last night. Like, how can I be ready for what could be happening in 3 years? That could be another traumatic thing or whatever the case is. If I'm still holding on to what happened 3 years ago, like it does not work like that. You have to constantly create space in your life, within yourself, to be ready for what's next. Being strong is so much bigger than just taking stuff on the chin. Your chin gets tired. Like my chin is tired. Like I can't do no more. Like I'm gonna just take it on the chin and keep it pushing. Nope, don't have no more space. My chin is done for it. Okay, no more taking stuff on the chin, charging it to the game. Like it's overcharged. Like
game over.
Game over for real. And these are things that I said to myself too until I realized, like, no, how many times are you going to charge it today? How many times are you going to take it on the chin? How many times you just going to let it? No. Like, you got to really deal with your stuff to create space for what's to come and what's next.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I feel like, especially like with so many different things, like you go through a certain periods where like you just feel like you're taking L's on L's on L's. It's like, right, just keep it pushing. But it's like, something gotta change. Like I feel like sometimes you may think like you're doing everything right, but at the end of the day, something gotta change. So I feel like you pivot, like you said, you're ready, you see this not working out, try to pivot, move it in another direction. You can keep moving and try to do whether it's rebranding, take some time to yourself, focus on figure out like what you want to do. I feel like, it's definitely not easy. Like taking a thing on the chin, it really gets annoying at a certain point. So I feel
like I tweeted that at one point. Like, charging the game, take on the chin.
It's not a horrible thing, It's just like after you do it for a while, it's just like if you're like you said about insanity, you keep taking it on the chin, nothing is. What do you have to show for that? Like,
that ain't
try something else. That ain't me. Try something else.
That's good. 100%. So like on a more lighter note, what do you have any memories of like sometimes where somebody told you like, oh yeah, I listened to the podcast and I broke up my boyfriend, or I let that man go. Like a success story, anything like that, or somebody who's like been listening to your podcast, like, oh yeah, I was really inspired by this, that type of thing. Like, have you ever had something like that?
For sure. Especially now this season that a lot of my people that came in when I was like getting started, they came into college and stuff. Now they're hearing my stories and they're making decisions on what to do next. They're graduating and things like that. I've been getting a lot of messages lately, but. Since I started, I've always been so open to feedback. People DM me like testimonies. People, it gets real. They find my email sometimes. I used to do an advice column, so people would send me things through there. People tell me about like some things that I said that I might have even forgot that I said and how it stuck with them and they never forgot it and it helped them in this situation. So I get success stories all the time. And it's honestly so crazy because God usually puts them, He plans them strategically, I feel like, for me. Because whenever I feel like I can take a break or I'm tired or nobody's really listening, God sends me somebody and they're like, girl, I listened to this, I watched this, and I heard this, and this thing helped me in this way. And I'm like, see, this is you reminding me that it's bigger than myself, So
how does that feel, though? Like, just getting the success stories, knowing that you made a positive impact on your life. How do you try to deal with that situation? Because obviously, some people get a big head, but obviously, like you don't seem to be that type of person. Where like you seem very humble when it comes to that. So, how do you try to deal with, hearing all these success stories, and how does it make you feel?
It's so surreal. Like my sister knows because she sees when I'm in the house. She sees me for the most part. I'm like, yo, look, somebody just, and then I'll show them. I'm like, do y'all see this? Like me. Like y'all, they really watching me. They really care about what I say. Like I really save them. I don't save people from suicide, y'all. Like those I think hit deepest because it's just like, wow, like you were ready to dip on us.
Yeah.
And something that I said struck something in you that decided to, like change it. That's a big major thing. So I think every time it shocks me. I know people probably be like, girl, like, cause I be like, oh, like I'm so dramatic. Like, oh my God, crying emojis and all that. But that's really how I be feeling every single time. It never gets old. I don't care if the same person is reaching out and propping me up every single time. It hits different every single time. It's a very surreal thing.
But you still manage to stay grounded in that too.
Yeah, because I still, honestly, I don't believe it. Like, I've been in this for like about 4 years now, and I still sometimes don't understand how I got here. Like, I just be like, y'all really with me? Like, y'all really tune in? Y'all really care? Y'all really check in with me? Make sure, you know, it's real surreal. I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where it's just like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. I mean, this is your ministry. This is your platform. Like, you're impacting lives, and you know, that's something that we also want to do, you know, sitting on the curb.
And
like,
you will.
You know what I'm saying? Just impact lives, be a positive platform, be a positive podcast. If you like, all podcasts aren't corny.
Have you on a positive,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm
saying?
saying? CurbTalks is cool, like, you know.
Build a different direction when it comes to podcasts. I feel like,
definitely.
especially with the scene it is right now, I feel like we're just trying to make sure our voice is heard and like make sure that people can tell that we're genuine. We're not not chasing nothing. We're like just like, we're enjoying conversations. We're having conversations we will have with our men any single type of day. You know what I'm saying? Having conversation with all this type of things. So I feel like you said, it's. I feel like podcasts is like it's a lot of controversial stuff going on, but it's like such a great creative outlet, and it can bring a lot of people together. So like with you, what you're doing, like your business and everything you've cultivated is clearly like saving people, so showing people's lives. So definitely shout out to you and. Hope, you know, trying to get on that level too.
Y'all
keep going.
Literally just keep on. Y'all have a great thing going. Y'all clearly are serious about what y'all doing. Don't worry about all the other things. There's no box. There's no one way to be a podcaster and to, you know, do this thing that we're doing. So just keep sight of the vision, the goal, you know, and y'all gonna be fine.
That's good. One last question before we close out. Who would be a guest that you think would be perfect for our podcast to come on here? And this had to be a person that you would have to help us also get to.
Ooh, a person that would be good for y'all podcast.
Mm-hmm. Had to put you on the spot for a little bit.
I gotta think. Is it just y'all two?
Yeah.
For
the most part, I think y'all should get like somebody a little older, like an older man. Give y'all so y'all can get something out of it too.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a lot of times like I like to learn from my guests. So you can learn this way, but learning this way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back. Can I get back to you?
You get back to me.
For sure. But at least the direction you're going in, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like definitely somebody who comes to game.
I gotta bring some OGs. Not even just. I think I need a couple of OGs. Like my brain goes to men that I know that I can actually reach out to and get, but like. The Gormans and the Ronalds and the Alberts. Like, y'all see where I'm going with that? Those three people would be like, I don't know how the schedules and stuff would work, but something like that where you had OGs coming on here, like letting they guard down too. Yeah, that'd be dope.
Nah, for sure. We gonna rock it and we definitely chop it up and figure that out. But is there anything else you want to tell our listeners? Your people, your community, anything like that.
Your clique is set.
Listen.
You know what I'm saying? Mother's here.
Mother, look. They took care of Mother, y'all. Okay? Which means anybody that's thinking about tapping in after this episode, go back, watch their previous episodes, and also give them feedback. Because that's something that we're really big on over at Krowned Korner is giving our honest opinions on things. Because we don't always have it figured out. We might think that we're doing something right, and it's really not reaching the people we wanted to reach. So, y'all check them out, okay? They are doing great things. We always talk about having more men in these types of spaces. So I love what y'all doing. I support y'all 1,000%. Hopefully I can come back one day or bring y'all over to Spoken.
Oh, for sure.
Spoken.
And cheers to just more success, more life, laughter, learning, and love.
Well, definitely appreciate that. And y'all make sure y'all check out Krowned Korner Spoken.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great content. Make sure you check it out.
Good mental health stuff
for us. And
we going.
Yo.
Bye, y'all.